Well, hello and welcome to race number 2 in the Off the Map Tour. This is the first, or I should say the second of 4 really difficult races. They've ticked one off, both the men and the women, of some of the less ridden routes on Zwift. Importantly, there's also an opportunity for you to take part in the Off the Map events. As I did yesterday, I've ticked off one. I've still got 3 more to go. But all of us, we've got 2 weeks to be able to do it. And when we're out there on Zwift riding the Off the Map Tour, we can do it in the exclusive in-game mat kit. Once we've completed all stages, there's then the opportunity to go online and take your Zwift achievements out on the road. So I look forward to seeing you on Zwift. Joining me today in commentary is former professional cyclist Hannah Walker. Hannah, good to have you back in commentary with me. This time, though, I believe you joined me from Austria.
Hey Matt, yeah, I'm in Austria for today's race, so the ever-moving studio. But it's great to be back with you, and great. I'm looking forward to getting stuck into today's race, particularly after Friday's nail-biter from our women's elite.
It was a nail-biter. It was a nail-biter within a team. Let's take a look back at what happened in race number 1 in the Off the Map Tour for the women.
1, 2, 3 for Vision E Racing. Very, very impressive results there.
It was a fantastic feeling knowing that I could trust these women to hold a pace line, hold the lead, and just stay off the front. We had it, our team had it.
I was really lucky to be in that top group because my endurance was good, my sprint not so good. So, well, I proved otherwise today.
Alice, congratulations. How does that feel?
Still in shock. I wasn't expecting that at all. When you've got a load of really strong teammates, you just don't want to let them down.
They're moving up into the red numbers. They're punching out huge power.
I think that sort of brings surprise results, sometimes for like yourself.
Lethbridge closing in rapidly. Lethbridge takes stage 1. Great performance, Hannah, by Vision E Racing, and Alice Lethbridge with that timing absolutely perfect at the finish there. In terms of what that does for the general classification, Vision E Racing, they now lead the series. They're on 78 points. Sydney CC, they're on 61 points. The next best is St Kilda Cycling Club on 47. It's then R3R on 29 points. Hannah, despite the domination by Vision E Racing, they still don't have a massive lead, really, with 3 races still to come. There's a lot of teams still in this.
Yeah, there certainly is. And, they had a fantastic opener on Friday. However, that gap is still bridgeable for Sydney CC and St Kilda Cycling Club. R3R were represented mainly by Lou Bates, but they can't rest on the laurels yet. There's still 3 more races to come.
Well, last week, the women, they were racing on the triple loops. The men will be riding on that course a little bit later on. This time, they've got the challenge of the Rising Empire. So who better to take us through that course than the Triple Olympic Games gold medalist from America, Kristen Armstrong? Here she is riding the course, and she does it pretty quickly.
Here we are in New York. We are going to ride the Rising Empire route, which is just shy of 21 kilometers. It is relentless. As we start off on the course, we have a 0.4 lead in. We're going to climb quite a bit on this course. We get in about 360 meters of climbing within 1 lap. It is just undulating, rolling terrain today. So first you can see we're going through Central Park, and what's really neat about this route is that it is so realistic. We're exiting the park, going onto the Sky Loop. We're upwards to 8% here. This is going to last about a half a kilometer, and this is just the beginning. The climb just goes and goes. It's no joke. So though we had a little bit of a reprieve coming off of that first little bump, you can see it was only for about a minute as we enter into another little bump at 11%. And if you look through the glass road, you can see the trees all underneath. It's such a cool game, cool build out, this world of New York. We are now approaching our first climb, which is called the New York KOM, 6.1%, 1.4 kilometers. A little flat relief here, get some speed, don't sit up, and let off for the pedals for 1 second. When you're descending, if you're going over 58 kilometers an hour, and if you're over negative 3% grade, you can take a little breath, go into your tuck position. Taking a right-hand turn, we've entered back into the park. We're gonna approach the next KOM. We're gonna actually loop around, and we're gonna do the New York KOM in reverse. Wow, riding through Central Park can easily relax you, but don't let it relax you too much. 10, 12%. Focus on that beautiful city. Very futuristic. 15% here. You might want to use that feather prior to even getting to that final piece. Left-hand turn. We are going to head right back into Central Park. This last kilometer, as we approach it, it's going to kind of start going up again. We're gaining some of that upward percentage of grade. Here we go. 4%. You can see these last 200 meters are going to be tough. There you have it, Rising Empire.
Well, Hannah, they allocated X amount of time for Kristen to be able to do that course. She finished 20 minutes ahead of schedule. I rode that course yesterday in one of the mass participation rides in the Off the Map tour. I didn't finish 20 minutes ahead of schedule.
It's truly phenomenal, isn't it? She's just so strong, and she's not a three-time gold medalist for no reason. She's still got it. She's still got that strength, Matt.
Let's have a look at some of the numbers on the course itself. As she said, it's 2 laps of the course. It's 41.4 kilometers, altitude gain of 724 meters. The points that are up for grabs are all important. There's the forward king in the mountains or queen of the mountains. Then there's the sprint, the reverse queen of the mountains, and then the finish line. Big points at the finish line, Hannah, 25 for the win.
Yeah, big points. However, it's going to be those teams who are able to pick up points consistently in the intermediate and then score big in the final. You want to try and get as many of your riders as possible in that finish with so many points on offer to try and swamp the finish to gain and amass as many points as possible for your team.
Power-ups, these are all important, and when you use them is critical. If I could choose, it'd be the lightweight every day of the week, but there are other options there as well, and the aero could come in really handy. We saw it in that run to the finish line.
Yeah, certainly. I think throughout the duration of the race, it'll be the lightweight that will be, optimum. However, for the finish, it will be the aero power-up. So anyone who's got that will be vying for the win.
Let's take a look at some of the riders to watch. Obviously, based on the performance from last week, Vision E Racing with Jackie Godby. She's one of the Americans. She'll want to perform well. Lou Bates, I'm sure you're pretty optimistic about her chances.
Yeah, I certainly am. And I think, this course really does suit her down to the ground. She's ridden a lot of national hill climbs in the UK. She's a former professional rower and triathlete as well. So this course with the strength and the endurance needed, I think it's going to be one for Lou Bates today.
And Bree Wilson from St Kilda Cycling Club, she was in the mix last week. Anna Russell was only just off the pace. And Bree Vine, I'm sure she's super motivated. She's been riding well on this platform in a variety of series that she's been participating in. Hannah, it's time to get to the action. Let's take a look at the racing. They're already underway, and we've got a fair bit of action at the front. They've gone over an early climb. And we heard from Armstrong about taking advantage of the super tuck. That is really important early to conserve energy.
Yeah, it is. And I think, with this course, it's so relentless. It's undulating. There's never really a let up. So you need to make the most of the descents, getting into that super tuck, which you can get in if you're going over 58 kilometers per hour. So very important to save as much energy as possible where you can on this circuit.
And right off the bat, Jackie Godby, the American who we just spoke about as one of the riders to watch, she's got herself up towards the front. So no big surprises there.
No, there's not at all. And she's joined as well by her teammate, Lizzie Duncombe, as well. So very good position for Vision E Racing. They're in a strong position after only halfway.
And they have themselves a good gap. There's a chasing group that is at around about 10 seconds behind. Here's a look at what has happened so far. As always, Hannah, the start is really important. A pretty quick start to the race today.
Yeah, quick start. It's important to have a very good warm-up, be prepared for the start, and settle into your rhythm. Try and get towards the front, and just settle into the front of the race. As we can see already, riders there just losing contact with the peloton on this climb already.
And straight away over the first climb, it was Godby who was forcing the issue. And Vision E Racing, they'd be full of confidence, Hannah, after a dominant performance on Friday, collecting first, second, and third.
Yeah, full of confidence, but I think, you know, full of motivation and trust within each other, knowing what each other can do. They're not having to sort of doubt what the other rider or their teammate is doing. They know they can trust them 100%. And I think I spoke to Jackie Godby after the race, and she said she's learned so much from her teammates coming into this series. And I think that's really important, that you trust your teammates trust you.
And we've already seen some of the points taken already with the first of the intermediate sprints, or the first of the climbs, and Vision E Racing further extending their lead. Sydney CC picking up some good points, but once again, it was the team that really dominated on Friday that continue to stretch their advantage. They've managed to pick up 11 points at that sprint, Sydney CC with the 7, and then it was Team Saris in third position with 6 points. The leading 3 riders, they're now holding on to a 5 or 6 second advantage. Lou Bates is amongst the chasers. In that next group, there's also Alice Lethbridge, who's got 2 teammates out in front. So she's in the ideal position that she can just sit the wheels of the others. But that gap now is being closed, as we've seen them manage to come across. So they have closed it down. It's coming back together again at the front of the race, Hannah.
Yes, that was a great chase by BREE Wilson there, and Lethbridge from Vision E Racing in a perfect position. She can just sit on the riders of Wilson and Bates, let them bring her across, and yeah, we have a bigger group here. It looks around 7 riders at the front of the race.
And good to see that Bree Vine has managed to get herself in the mix today. She's managed to stay in contact with that front group throughout the SRAM Send It series that we had a little bit earlier on here, particularly with a lot of Australians riding that series. We referred to the Vine Show because it was both Bree Vine and her husband Jay Vine. They were dominating that series, and we got to go into their house quite regularly with some footage of both of them encouraging each other. And I'm sure right now, as we speak, Jay, although he'll be warming up for his race that gets underway shortly, he'll be right next to Bree and giving loads of encouragement.
Yeah, I think it plays a big part, doesn't it? Having that motivation, having some encouragement, having someone there cheering you on. But she had some great results in the SRAM Send It series. We can see Jen Arnold here. She's the rider in the ride-on jersey, so you can see her in the blue jersey. As we see her picture. Looking, we can keep an eye on her. Big standout jersey, hey Matt.
Well, this is a great prize. Jen Arnold took it in race number 1, and it's up to you who takes it in race number 2. So go to the Zwift Companion app and give a ride on to your favorite rider and hope that others do as well. And then they'll be in a position to get the jersey that Jen Arnold is wearing today for the most ride-ons throughout the race. So she certainly is pretty popular. She has won the popular vote. And she's just picked up a ride on as we're talking about her. She's rocking the bandana well also.
Yeah, she certainly is, and looking very, very comfortable indeed. This
back to the front of the race, Lethbridge is riding well. Chelsea Holmes up towards the front. Hannah, you might have had a chance to see Chelsea Holmes in action. She's a young South Australian. She's a rider that I'm sure that you'll get a chance to commentate in the not too distant future in Europe. She's got a really big future.
Yeah, and I think there's some really bright young talent coming through the ranks in Australia, coming across to Europe, and yeah, great to see, and great to see that she's mixing, in real life racing with e-racing as well, and yeah, having a fantastic race here up towards the front of this group, sitting nicely in the 3rd position.
another youngster that's in this leading group. I've just spotted that Emily Watts is up in this front group. She's from Sydney in New South Wales. She's been going well through the under-19 ranks, has made that step up now through into the senior ranks, and she's a rider that I think can develop really well over the next couple of years. Not everybody develops at the same pace, Hannah. We've seen Sarah Gigante step out of the under-19s and straight away start winning races at the elite level. For others, you look at an Annemiek van Vleuten, for example, who is now the dominant rider. She is in her late 30s. It took a while for her to really get going. Take a look at some of the teams now. The Aussie Hump Day Ride team. This is a team that's very popular down under, Hannah. They're a team that organise a lot of rides on Zwift.
Yeah, and they've certainly got a standout jersey, hey Matt. It's really iconic. And likewise with I Race Like a Girl as well. They've got riders from all over the globe as well. Lenny Ramsey from the Netherlands racing for this team.
That's a pretty easy to spot jersey as well. And then we have the R3R team. This is the team of Lou Bates. They also have Sarah Dawson and Debs Stockley. Lou Bates, I think she can win today. This course could be for her.
Yeah, and I think as well she's got a really fast finish on her as well and it's slightly an incline as well. So if she gets the timing right, she has a good power up. I think today really will suit her. And now she's back in the frame as well.
St Kilda Cycling Club, both Justine Barrow and Bree Wilson performed really well on Friday. Unfortunately, Tamara Shepherd is a non-starter. She was with that team on Friday. Sydney CC with Taryn Heather, Bree Vine, Emily Watts, Chelsea Holmes. Unfortunately, Sarah Gigante is a non-starter today. Let's hope that she is back in action on Thursday for the next race. Team, in brackets, draft. We all like a draft, Hannah.
Yeah, we certainly do, don't we? And Jen Arnold, the rider that we were mentioning before in that ride on jersey, racing for this team. Team Fearless here as well with another roster of riders from all over the globe. Another standout jersey with the fluoro shoulder.
And Team Saris as well, as we now get a chance to take a look at them. Anna Russell was very good on Friday, just missed the split over the top of Leith Hill. As we see the leading pack now, they're on to the next of the climbs, a 4-5% grading at this point. The Swedish Zwifters, a team full of Swedes, we get a chance to take a look at them. But Chelsea Holmes, who I spoke about just a moment ago, Hannah, she is the rider who is applying the pressure at the front. I told you needed to keep an eye on her.
Yeah, you certainly do, and she's been doing a lot of work on the front, just setting the pace, and I hope she's not doing too much too soon with 17 kilometres to go. She's setting a nice pace. There's still a group of around 20 in this group, but just as we say that, she's just applied a little bit more pressure, starting to open the gaps now.
She is, but they're marking her pretty heavily. This is Vision E Racing that we're now getting a chance to take a look at. They have a super strong team, first, second and third in race number 1, and they got a lot of points in the first of the sprints here tonight, collecting 11 points. That's all our teams that we get a chance to take a look at, and we're seeing the favourites emerge up towards the front. Good to see a few youngsters there amongst them, Chelsea Holmes, who we've spoken about.
Yeah, I think it's great seeing the youngsters mixing it up. As you said before, everyone develops at different stages. We get a look here at Bree Vine, who you were just mentioning before, Matt, who had a phenomenal racing period on Zwift in the Schram Sendit series and the NRS. But yeah, looking very, very comfortable indeed.
She's always in the same position. She always rides in that position, well, normally. Occasionally she's had a change with Jay. She might try and swap spots with Jay tonight to get his good fortune from Friday, where Jay finished in second position in the men's race. She's got the headphones in. She might be listening to our commentary to work out exactly what's happening at the front of the race, Hannah. The pressure's on us to get it right.
Yes, it certainly is. And probably got some upbeat music on, keeping her entertained, or perhaps she's actually on communication with her teammates so they can chat to each other, communicate on the tactics, what they're going to do. Chelsea Holmes again applying the pressure at the front here, just wanting to split things up and to try and shell a few more riders from this group.
She's got a really good attitude. Duncombe up towards the front. This course will suit her, just as Friday's did, where she performed really well. She's got plenty of endurance.
Yeah, she certainly has. She's gone from an amateur triathlete this summer to professional, and it's fair to say her endurance and her strength is absolutely phenomenal. Her turn of speed, when I spoke to her after the race, she said she was very, very surprised at her sprint because she didn't think she could sprint and she didn't think she had a turn of speed. So proved herself differently there.
It's a nice problem to have, proving yourself wrong under those circumstances. Here is Chelsea Holmes. We get a chance to take a look at her. Look at that heart rate, Hannah. Almost 200 beats per minute. You know what this tells us? She knows how to hurt herself.
She certainly does, but able to just take a breather there, not just sit up, still spinning the legs, and still able to push 157 watts at the moment. But yeah, very, very high heart rate. But as we've known before, it depends what her max heart rate is, so we can get a bit of relevance as to whether she's into the red zone or not.
For memory, I think I saw her in some of the other series on Zwift that we commentated on her in. She got somewhere around the 210 mark for max heart rate in a couple of those races. So she's got a little bit of room to go from the 190s, but anybody up in the 190s, Hannah, it's high.
Yeah, it certainly is, and putting your body through a lot of stress and pressure. But yeah, looking very, very comfortable there, knowing that the points on the course where she's able to take a little bit of a breather. She's confident as well that there's going to be no moves going at the minute. She's just patrolling the back of the peloton. Now you can see Lou Bates here, the British rider who hails from Nottingham.
Look at her heart rate is down at 160. It's a lot lower, but as you referenced before, it's only relevant if you know what the max heart rate is. But looking at the body language of Lou Bates, she's looking very good.
Yeah, looking very good. And also, if you just take a look at her cadence as well, running a very, very high cadence. When we came to her, you can see, up into the hundreds now, 106 revs per minute. So likes to keep the cadence high, doesn't like pushing the big gears. She decides she wants to make a move now. Does she spot a moment to try and break up? It is. She's chasing down Holmes at the front here.
I like the way she attacked that little bit of a dip in the climb. It's a climb where it has a little bit of ebbs and flows. It's not particularly consistent, and she hit that steep pinch with a fair bit of momentum. It hasn't been enough to force a split, but it certainly put a few under pressure. And now she backs off the pedals. She's tested the waters. Now it's time to try and recuperate.
Yeah, I think that's very smart, getting a little bit more speed up as you enter a really short, steep climb, just to get yourself over. Otherwise, kind of pushing into that bigger gear makes it feel a little bit harder. Carry the speed into the climb and you basically carry yourself up there.
It's a fairly select group out in front. Emily Watts is amongst it, so too BREE Vine, Chelsea Holmes, Berger is there, Bemrose, Duncombe, who was very good on Friday, Lethbridge as well, who was the winner on Friday, incidentally. Bree Wilson is also there, and Jackie Godby. So the top three from the Vision E racing team have all got themselves at the front of the race once again. Winning form, Hannah, is good form.
It certainly is, and as I said before, I think success breeds success. When you've got trust within your teammates as well, that plays a huge part. It's all about those marginal gains, isn't it?
For sure. And they've got that morale of seeing another teammate within that leading group. It certainly does help under any format, whether it's out in the real world or it's on Zwift.
Yeah, certainly. And I think, having strength in numbers in this front group, it means that, you can discuss with each other, communicate with each other during the race and say, okay, well, why don't you go for the intermediate sprint to try and pick up as many points as possible? We'll try and save as much energy as possible and go for the finish, pick up those big points. As we know, there's 25 points on offer for first place.
Well, they've already picked up significant points at the intermediate sprint, so they've been extending their advantage in the overall series, and they're holding on to an almost 50-second lead over the chasing group. So with just on 13 kilometres remaining, they can stay calm within this group. They don't need to panic. They don't need to drive the tempo. Lou Bates, she's showing herself up towards the front. she's been riding pretty well. And I'm going to stick with it, Hannah. I think she is a big chance to win this one.
Yeah, I certainly do. I think as long as she can keep the form as we saw her in real life in her garage, looking confident and strong as well, knowing where to attack the course, also where to recuperate and relax. So yeah, I think as long as she has the right power up as well, I think she'll be aiming to get that aero for the finish. We saw last week on Friday, she had a great kick on the mile in the intermediate sprint.
And that's why I'm backing her. That's why I've got faith in her. I think she can deal with these climbs as we go further back down the road. This is Justine Barrow, who we're now on board with. We saw her on Friday. She rides an enormous gear. She really grinds. So where there's ebbs and flows, it's hard for her to respond too quickly.
Yeah, it certainly is, and I don't think I've ever seen a rider sort of shove such a huge gear and have such a low cadence. Last week we were seeing around, well, you can just see now picture of Justine Barrow, 66 revs per minute here. Relatively low heart rate as well, 163 beats per minute, but pushing a lot of power here, and 43 kilometers per hour when we're just come off the back of that climb to be going at that speed.
She is a class athlete. As we switch in between a few of the riders, in this event she's riding for the St Kilda Cycling Club, but normally she rides for Rock Salt Attacker, which is one of the leading teams on the domestic circuit. On the climb at 13%, it's just backing off ever so slightly. Justine Barrow would like this climb to go for the last 11 kilometres, and then she could potentially claw her way back to the front of the race.
Yeah, she certainly would, and she's in this chasing group here. But yeah, an extremely strong rider.
That looked like a little bit of a flick across to Anna Russell, who is also in this group with Justine Barrow. She was really strong on Friday as well. She just got dropped near the top of the climb of Leith Hill, the Kiwi. And again, she finds herself ever so slightly off the mark. But for both Anna Russell and also for Justine Barrow, it's important for them to press on, because potentially at the finish line, there's still plenty of points to be gained for their respective teams.
Yeah, there is, with points available for the first 22 riders across the line. It is important to keep applying the pressure and try and sprint and get to the finish and sprint for any remaining places. Anna Russell used to race professional triathlon, so another rider with great strength, great endurance, and she's in good form, although a different type of course. She won the British Cycling crit race last week as well, so much more of a faster race, but no, she's in good form.
Now we're on board with Jackie Godby, who was fantastic on Friday in the first of the races, first of 4 races in the Off the Map Tour, and you can participate in the event as well. I rode this course yesterday, but I just did the 1 lap of the course, Hannah, and it was tough. The women tonight, they're doing 2 laps. Well, it's tonight my time, it's morning your time in Austria. Either way, it's 11.3 Ks to go.
Yeah, Jackie Godby again finding herself in a fantastic position at the front of the race. Bree Wilson as well, and just a rider in front of Bree Wilson using the draft power up, the little van above her. So there's a group around 6 riders here.
Oh, Bree Wilson, she was good. She had the power on Friday. I think she just used it at slightly the wrong times. As we saw at the end of the race, it was a demonstration of how important tactics are in Zwift racing, as the rider that had the highest power to weight ratio within the race was actually Sarah Gigante, but she was in a group that was more than 15 seconds behind. As we see Jackie Godby now really open up the throttle. She's got a gap with Bree Wilson doing the chasing. Lou Bates is next in line. Hannah, it's crunch time.
Yeah, this is where the action and the excitement starts to begin. You just saw Bree Wilson there. She saw Jackie Godby go to try and take max points. As you can see on the left-hand side, the results of that Queen of the Mountain. Bree Wilson using the invisibility power-up to make her attack to close in on Godby. So taking everyone by surprise.
Well, Godby, she's attacked more than I think, just collecting those Queen of the Mountain points. She's gone into the tuck position because her speed was up over the magic 58 kilometres per hour. Her team, Vision E Racing, collecting more points for their overall tally in the general classification, so they further extend their lead, and they started with a handy lead after their dominant performance on Friday. But this is only a small margin, but it's the sort of margin that Jackie Godby would potentially just test the waters when she gets back down on the flat and needs to start pedaling again. But I like the way she's kicked the clutch in and she's bringing that heart rate back down nice and quickly.
Yeah, bringing the heart rate down, but also making the most of that super tuck there, getting as much recovery and respite as possible after that effort on the second queen of the mountains. They are chasing behind her, though. The gap is closing in, Matt. So it's Lou Bates leading that chase on Jackie Godby, and just on time, Lou Bates just coming around Jackie Godby.
It looks like Jackie Godby made the decision pretty quickly. This won't work on my own. So she saved her energy, perhaps has learnt the tactical lessons from Friday, where there were attacks that didn't result in the big win. And Jackie Godby, along with her two teammates, Duncombe and also Lethbridge, they were patient and they brought home the bacon. They got the big victory. They got 1, 2, 3 for their team of Vision E Racing.
Yeah, they certainly did, and I think on this, going into this Queen of the Mountain here, Jackie Godby saw that the potential to try and split the group up now, and there's only 5 riders in the front group, 2 riders from the Vision E Racing of Godby and Lizzie Duncombe. Lou Bates, again, the sole representative from R3R, and it looks like Bree Wilson has also made it across.
Oh, Lou Bates, she's out there on her own for her team. Godby's got a few teammates. Bree Wilson is there on her own for the St Kilda team. Last week, she had a teammate up there with her. It was Justine Barrow that was in that leading group with her. Justine Barrow today finds herself chasing at around about 50 seconds behind. And the intermediate sprint points, Berger collecting 4 points. So the points being accumulated thick and fast at the moment, Hannah.
Yeah, the Israeli rider Berger picking up the 4 points, but it is the all-important more points towards Vision E Racing.
Yeah, exactly. They continue to accumulate points. They do it time and time again. And it was Godby in second position, followed by Duncombe in third place. Then Lou Bates was fourth through that sprint. Her team is going okay in the overall standings, Lou Bates. They are in third position, but they started the day already at 49 points behind Vision E Racing. So for Lou Bates, perhaps spending a lot of energy at those intermediate sprints, not great given she doesn't have any teammates up there with her, so she hasn't wasted any energy. The biggest impact she can have for her team and for herself and for bragging rights is to save it for the finish and collect the 25.
Yeah, it certainly is. And with points available for the first 4 in the intermediate sprints, and there's only 5 in this leading group, all she has to do, is sort of roll across, put herself into a good position, and just accumulate and as many points as possible. But whilst trying to save as much energy, with only 7.1 kilometers to go, Bates will be thinking about the finish. She'll be thinking how she can defeat Duncombe and Godby. How is she going to defeat the 2 teammates? There's a fast finisher as well with Shani Berger, the Israeli rider.
Well, they're out in front now with just 5 riders in this leading group. Shani Berger, who you mentioned, Duncombe, Bates, Wilson and Godby. It's then a 26-second gap to the chasing group, which includes Friday's winner, the winner of stage 1 of the Off the Map Tour, which is Alice Lethbridge. She's also got Emily Watts in the group with her, Chelsea Holmes, who we spoke about in glowing terms on one of the earlier climbs. She spent perhaps just a little bit too much energy early on. Youthful enthusiasm, Hannah.
Yeah, but I think, it's all a learning process, isn't it? And, your experience shows, I think, going into the next race, you'll realise maybe I did a bit too much work too early on. But nonetheless, great racing from Chelsea Holmes, the young rider.
With a young rider, Hannah, that is a problem you would much rather have. How can we hold them back a little bit, as opposed to how do we get them up the front and really in the thick of the action?
Yeah, definitely. And I think some of the young riders, they come with immense speed. Whereas some of the older riders have a great endurance and strength. Some of the younger riders have such a great turn of speed and a great sprint on them. But it's also horses for courses, Matt. It depends, what suits them more. Is it more of a flatter course that suits the rider, or is it a hilly course? So yeah.
It's Wilson in the St Kilda colours. The two riders in the pink are Duncombe and Godby. In the black colours is Berger, and in the blue with the white and red, that is Bates. That's the leading group of 5. And as they are down to just inside 6 kilometres remaining, given their advantage is 26 seconds on the chasing group, a group of riders that were with them not that long ago, Hannah, I'd be really surprised if this leading group of 5 got caught by the chasers.
Yeah, I think it's looking like, that the 5 riders are working well together. They have shaved 2 seconds off that gap, now 24 seconds. But it's going to take a real turn of speed from the chasers now to try and claw this gap back. Lethbridge sitting nicely. She's in a fantastic position. She's able to just sit on the wheel of Chelsea Holmes, force her to do all the work, and knowing that she's got 2 riders up front who can take as many points as possible.
And for the team, soak up more points for them as well with the sprint for the minor placings. And the way she sprinted in stage number 1 in the Off the Map Tour, it was perfect timing and plenty of horsepower.
Yeah, certainly wasn't there? And timing her power up to perfection as well. And I think it really actually surprised her that she took the victory on Friday's stage 1. But I think all of them, the way they performed, surprised each other.
Well, Berger was just slipped off the back just ever so slightly there, and I'm sure that as she was riding and looking at the screen in front of her, she would have had that familiar sign that we've all seen on Zwift that says, close the gap. It's a teasing sign, but you do like it, Hannah, when it says, okay.
Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it? It's one of those signs where you don't want it to affect you mentally and kind of give you a negative effect. As soon as it starts saying, close the gap and it's 1 meter, quickly make that effort to get back onto the group. It's not like in road racing where you can sort of slowly close the gap to the riders in front of you. It's much better on Zwift to do a little bit of a sprint out the saddle, get back into the group, get back into the draft. And as you said, as soon as you see the OK sign, it's a relief.
It is a big relief as soon as you see it. This is Bree Wilson. She finds herself in the front group. The heart rate's still high, so are the watts, but importantly, Hannah, so too is the cadence. Bree Wilson looks as if she's on top of it. Sure, she's flirting with the red zone, but she seems to be in control.
Yeah, she certainly is, and exactly what we were just speaking about. A little bit of a gap opening up to the 3 riders in front. She closed the gap immediately, and with 4.9 kilometers to go, it's not surprising to see the heart rate really high, the power very, very high, and great average watts per kilo as well. But making the most of the draft.
I was just having to look for my glasses to confirm those watts per kilo. They are big numbers. They are charging up this climb at around 5+ watts per kilo, and they've been sustaining it for quite a while. They're inside the last 5 kilometres. There is plenty of pressure on the front, and it is Lou Bates who is going to the head of affairs. Jackie Godby just behind her, who's already shown her strength on the climbs.
Yeah, Jackie Godby, obviously in that intermediate queen of the mountains, showing her strength. But just there, look at the tactic from Duncombe. Just dropped the wheeler slightly. Was she just suffering with the pace set by Lou Bates there?
Johnny Berger charging through in the black colours of the Saris Racing team. She's making sure that she doesn't get distanced. On a climb like this, it's important to at least start the climb near the front. And then if you do find yourself under a bit of pressure, at least there's a split second to drift back ever so slightly.
Yeah, you have that sliding room, and I think when you see the ever-changing gradient on this climb, we're just on 2%, it ramps up immediately to 10%. So it's being able to manage your turn of speed, how you can ride these climbs whilst keeping the pressure down. How are you going to ride it on your turbo at home as well? Are you going to want to ride it in the saddle, pushing the gear, or are you going to want to dance on the pedals out of the saddle? Lou Bates again, you can just see Lou Bates dancing on the pedals, out the saddle, in and out.
I'm not sure if that was dancing. That looked more like stomping, Hannah.
Yeah, stomping in her garage.
She is applying plenty of pressure. She's got the team jersey in the background, but Godby responds, and the American on home soil racing through the streets of New York has opened up the slightest of gaps, and the watts per kilo goes from white to red.
Yeah, it certainly does. And just look at that. Lou Bates is having to use her lightweight feather to try and close the gap to Godby. She isn't able to do it. Already over a second gap now to Godby, and you can just see the cadence is looking fantastic. She looks very relaxed, strong upper body. She's not wasting too much energy in the upper body, but she's continuing to open the gap now. 2.7 seconds.
Across the top of the climb, she was at 7 watts per kilo. That, in any language, is flying. She's collected more points in the race for the Queen of the Mountains, but that is the sort of move as she's opened up a 3.5 second gap. She's into the super tuck. She can get the heart rate back down, and she has got the horsepower to drive it from here to the finish line.
Yeah, she certainly has, and that gap is ever continuing to open to Shani Berger, Lizzie Duncombe, and Bree Wilson. Now it's around 7 seconds, this gap. Only Lou Bates is able to close the gap. She's kind of now or never on this descent. Going 73 kilometers per hour. So if Lou Bates wants to close the gap, she's going to have to be going even faster in her super tuck.
There's Lou Bates chasing to get back on terms. She is with Shani Berger. Here is the vision of Lou Bates in real life. As much as we talk about real life racing versus Zwift racing, what is consistent? Lactic acid tastes the same in your mouth, whether it's out on the road or it's in the garage.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't. It's never a nice feeling until the race is over, is it? But I think it's, how you manage. You can see Lou Bates just spinning the legs now. Maybe, she finds it better to spin the lactate out of the legs instead of, I know some riders actually don't like to stop pedaling during the race. They feel like they lose the momentum and the legs sort of turn to lead. Shani Berger and Lou Bates doing
down to the last 2 kilometers. They're working really well together, but Jackie Godby is extending her advantage. It's now out to 5 seconds as the gap continues to open up inside the last 2 kilometers. 1.7 Ks remaining for Jackie Godby.
Yeah, well, this is a monster effort from Jackie Godby. She timed it. She knew that she could surprise the likes of Lou Bates and Shani Berger on that climb. And the gap is continuing to grow now. 7-8 seconds for Lou Bates and Shani Berger. It looks like Duncombe and Wilson, they're out of the picture now.
And it is all on through to the finish line from here for Jackie Godby. She's had a couple of little attacks to pick up some of the intermediate points along the way to further extend the lead in the overall standings for her dominant team, the team Vision E Racing, that took the trifecta on Friday in race number 1 in the Off the Map series. She's on target to make it back-to-back wins for her team. Bates is chasing along with Berger, but the advantage, it's now into double figures. Under the kite, 1 kilometre to go for Godby.
Yeah, well, this is going to taste sweet after Friday's result as well. Trying to make it back-to-back wins for Vision E Racing. But it's 12 seconds now for Bates and Berger. It's looking like it's going to be a victory for Godby.
And with this sort of time up her sleeve, it makes me think about what is the next innovation that Zwift can bring to this game. We've got the power-ups. You can have the invisible. You can put the cloak on. We need the power-up of a victory salute.
Yes,
that's one for the IT developers at Zwift. We want a victory salute, particularly when you go in solo.
I hope we'll see an in real life victory salute from Godby in her pain cave too.
And now back with the chasing group. It is now 3 chasing as opposed to 2, as Duncombe has managed to get back across to Berger and Bates. So again, it could be a 1-2 for Vision E Racing.
Yeah, we're picking up the all-important intermediate, the sprint points at the finish line. Bates opens up though, Matt.
And she's going early. Meanwhile, out in front, Jackie Godby inside the last 100 metres. The American has dominated the American circuit, racing around the streets of New York. The rising empire. She is the queen of the Off the Map Tour, stage number 2, as Jackie Godby goes out the winner. And the power up is in use. It's the victory salute power up that she has really got in play. And then there is the race for the minor placings as well. Bree Wilson is still trying to hold her position for 5th place on the stage. She looks set to be able to manage 5th place. Lou Bates is also going across in 2nd position on the stage. I think went to Lou Bates. We'll just wait for confirmation on those results. Or Berger ahead of Bates. Looks like it might have been Berger ahead of Bates. And the sprint is on again for minor placings. Lethbridge showing herself again to be pretty quick. Emily Watts, I think, was also up there. But what is certain, Hannah, is that the Vision E Racing team have further extended their lead in the Off the Map Tour 4-race series.
Yeah, they certainly have, and you know, another race, another day where they've timed their moves to perfection, and superb move from Jackie Godby. She knew where she needed to go. She knew the point where the other riders really struggled to keep on terms with her, and yeah, managed to take a solo victory, and that always tastes sweet.
Yeah, and in the racing for the minor placings, it was Shani Berger who got 2nd place. Lou Bates, it was in 3rd position. Lizzie Duncombe in 4th place. Bree Wilson, she held on for 5th. And it was Emily Watts winning that sprint for 6th position, followed then by Bree Vine. It was then Brimrose. Lethbridge was 9th, and Laura Luxford rounded out the top 10. So a reasonably good result then for St Kilda with 2 riders inside the top 10. But that win by Jackie Godby, Hannah, that was a performance that she can be really pleased with. She looked to be the strongest, and it certainly proved to be the case. But Hannah, yet again, we're seeing Lou Bates. She had a higher watts per kilo average throughout the race, yet she was 12 seconds behind at the finish line. Tactics really matter.
Yeah, tactics. I think also knowing where to make your effort, how much effort to make, and all those efforts throughout the race. When you're wanting to do a mini attack, you're just chipping into your energy sources, and doesn't always pay off to have the highest average watts of the race. Tactics and riding smart.
To recap the race and take a look beyond the top of the table in terms of the results, and one of the riders who shone for me, it was good to see her up towards the front, was Chelsea Holmes. I know I spoke about her. I might be a little bit biased in talking about her early. She will continue to learn and continue to improve from the experience, but there's so much upside to her performance tonight.
Yeah, there's so much potential there, isn't there? And I think, just if she reflects on today's race, looks at how much work she was doing early on, tries to save that for the back end of the race. And I really do think, in the next few weeks, Chelsea Holmes will be knocking on the door for a podium, and if not a victory.
I was also expecting that we would have seen up towards the front the likes of a few of the riders that we saw at the head of the race on Friday. I anticipated that Justine Barrow would have been there, Lethbridge as well, but they obviously just got caught out in a split. It shows that the racing, with 2 more stages still to come in the Off the Map Tour, can turn around quickly.
Yeah, it can change drastically, can't it? And we saw, some riders in the front group today that didn't make the group on Friday. So, as I said before, it depends on the course, what suits them. But one thing that's for sure is Vision E Racing have really nailed this Off the Map Tour, as we get a replay of Jackie Godby in the run into the finish. She had that all-important lightweight power up.
She used it, but she would have won without it. The way she rode, she was simply the strongest regardless of power-ups. But it was reasonably close in the end, 12 seconds, but she had the horsepower to get the job done regardless of power-ups tonight.
Yeah, she did. And we saw in the intermediate queen of the mountains, she was always the rider pushing the pace towards the top. She'd open up a gap and it forced the riders behind to have to close it. She knew on the last time up there how much the other riders were hurting. She was able to open up that gap and really press on the descent, make the most of the super tuck as well. And I think once she got that gap, head down and didn't look back.
I really do like this circuit. I've enjoyed seeing the racing across it. And the Vision Racing team, they've further extended their advantage at the top of the table. Team Saris have picked up some good points. So too Sydney CC, likewise with the St Kilda Cycling Club. And R3 are also picking up some handy points. Hannah, we're halfway through the series. 2 more races to come. The next one is Thursday. Is there anything anybody can do to get the better of Vision E Racing?
Well, I think it's going to take a really great tactic beforehand, all the riders speaking to each other and making a plan to try and overhaul them. But at the moment, they're the riders on the attack, and it's going to take a rider who's able to go with the move and put the fight up against them.
Well, you're in Austria, so I'll see you online here on Thursday for race number 3 in the Off the Map Tour. Hopefully you can get outdoors and do a few rides and enjoy the hills.
Yeah, certainly hope so. And it's raining here today, but hopefully that turns around and it changes. But yeah, fantastic stage 2 again on the Off the Map Tour.
Well, if it's raining, you better get on Zwift. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you Thursday.
See you Thursday. Thanks, Matt.
Hannah Walker, she'll be back on Thursday for race number 3. The women's racing, Vision E Racing, have dominated so far. One of the riders, unfortunately, who didn't start today, but she did race on Friday, hopefully she's back on Thursday, is Sarah Gigante. She really is not just one of the rising stars of Australian cycling, she's one of the rising stars of world cycling. So who better to go and talk to her but one of the stars of New Zealand cycling, the retired Greg Henderson. Here he is catching up with Sarah Gigante.
Look at the reaction there from Gigante. Gigante riding like a woman possessed in the Maillot Jaune. Straight over the top. Brilliant stuff from the Aussie.
I'm just going through your major achievements here. Win of the Australian National Road Race Championship in 2019. Now that was one of the huge results. And then again, we backed it up with the Australian National Time Trial Championships in 2020.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty surprised both times. I don't know which one I found more surprising, to be honest. No one expects to step up and suddenly win the elite. So that was a pretty cool way to start off with my new team, Team Tipco Silicon Valley Bank. It was my first race in the team colours as a professional. So yeah, what a great way to start the year.
What's it been like signing that professional contract and then all of a sudden everything being put on hold, and how vital has Zwift become for you?
Being able to jump on Zwift and still race with my teammates has made a huge difference. We get like super into it, and it's just as exciting when we win a Zwift race as when we win on the road. So it's been really a great way to stay connected with my team.
How did it feel to take part in the virtual Tour de France, and how was it to come so close to the victory against someone as strong as Ash?
Well, I'm not sure I would describe it as super close because she was absolutely amazing.
Gigante back in contact again. Whatever Ashley Moore-Pasio throws at the young Australian, she's back at it.
Sarah Gigante really pushed you hard on that climb.
Well, there's no doubt that she's a great talent. That was already very evident during the Tour for All. So yeah, great ride from her.
It was just so amazing to be able to race on like such a big stage. We saw the viewing numbers after the race, and so many people were cheering us on during the race. My screen was just covered in ride-ons, so that was super encouraging and really exciting. Yeah, it was just awesome to be able to race some of the world's best from my lounge room.
Do you think you'll be virtual racing? You know, once life returns to normal, whatever normal's going to be?
I'll certainly still be virtual racing. I really enjoy it. It's like I got the QOM on Alpe d'Huez last week, and I was so proud of myself. It was a 40-minute effort, just like my nationals time trial. And I said to my coach, you know, out of these two 40-minute efforts, I think I'm going to have to take this Alpe d'Huez win as a bigger victory, to be honest.
As a next generation cyclist, do you feel positive about the future of women's cycling? Like, what's your outlook?
Definitely platforms like Zwift allow us to really show the world like how aggressive our racing can be. Even though though this pandemic, it's been pretty hard on the sport, I'm pretty positive with the way the sport's going and how women's cycling will continue to progress.
You've been fantastic on Zwift. We're really looking forward to watching you in the future. Good luck in this upcoming race. I'll give you a few ride-ons, mate. Don't you worry about that.
In titles. The first one came in her first year out of the under-19s. It caught a lot of us by surprise, but perhaps not this, guys. I'm joined in commentary for the men's race by Pat Shaw, who was there when Sarah won. Pat, you watched Sarah through the junior ranks. Were you a little bit surprised, at least, that she won that national title first up out of the juniors?
I was certainly surprised. There was no question about that at all, Matt. I just expected her to explode as a young rider, but she's shown that that's one of her great talents, is that she has a great endurance capacity, hence why she also won the individual time trial this year. She's a phenomenal rider, and it's great to see her participating.
She is. We had a fantastic race on Friday in race number 1 in the Off the Map Tour for the men. Let's take a look at some of the highlights and how Ollie Jones went about winning.
On a great 1-3 finish. It was a perfect run, and looking forward to the next race.
I mean, that finish is just power, and unfortunately, I think he's got like another 150 watts on me.
Now we're seeing the numbers move to red. It's Jones and Vine pouring the pressure on at the fronts.
He just had me in that one. That was a really good run.
You've won the first stage for the Off the Map Tour, and also you as a team lead a significant amount of points ahead of second place.
Yeah, it was massive. I'm really happy I could be there at the end and take the victory.
The power up is now in use for Vine. He is desperately closing in, but it's Jones who holds on.
On to race 2 on Monday. We look forward to having you back.
Can't wait to get into it.
Pat, the Canyon team, they came out on top. They now lead the series. They're on 101 points. Indoor specialists are in second position on 58 points. Sydney CC, the team of Jay Vine, they're in third position on 42 points, locked together with the St Kilda Cycling Club. The Canyon Esports team, it wasn't quite the domination of Vision E Racing that we saw in the women's race, but first and third, it was pretty close.
It was pretty close. It was a great ride as well. Both Ollie Jones and Vujasan did a great team ride. But tonight, Jay Vine, he welcomes back Cooper Sayers, and Cooper Sayers will be a great addition for him. And he spoke about that in his post-race interview with me last week. So really excited to see how this one plays out.
Well, the course that they're tackling today is the triple loops. That's the circuit that the women raced on Friday. So we got Matt Stevens to take a look at the course to give us his view on what might happen. Let's take a look at the course that the men are about to race across, the triple loops with Matt Stevens.
There's a big hint to what today's race entails, and it's all in the name. That's right, London's triple loops is a large loop, containing 3 more loops. Now, I should probably give you a bit of a heads up, as that's not the last time I will mention the word loop. So, if you like impromptu drinking games, now will be the time to get your shot glass ready. The first of today's loops is the Greater London Loop, a mostly flat 11.6km jaunt around Westminster. From there, our riders will head on to the second loop, the Classique, a rapid 5.4km sprint through London's most famous streets, with intermediate points available on them all. Our third and final loop will be what separates the wheat from the chaff. After a deceptively flat first half, it'll be a rather rude awakening, as our riders find themselves taking on a circuit that incorporates both Leith and Box Hill. With the hills of Surrey behind them, our riders will make their way back through the underground and, if there's anything at all left in the tank, push through for a sprint to the finish line and the last of the points on offer.
Pat, if Friday is anything to go by in the women's race, the peloton will split up. You can see the numbers there. It's 40.8 kilometres with climbing of 544 metres. There is an intermediate sprint at the Mall. It's then on to Leith Hill for the King in the Mountains. The finish line, 25 points up for grabs. But squeezed in amongst that, as you heard from Matt Stevens, there's also the climb to Box Hill. And it was there on Friday in the women's race where we actually saw one of the decisive moves, Pat.
And potentially that is exactly what we see here tonight. Also, Jay Vine was aggressive on Friday night, and I think that he will be aggressive again tonight. So it'll all be about numbers up front, but he also wants to take some riders that don't represent Canyon ZCC so they can fill some of those positions, and then they can close the gap on the general classification.
Which of the power-ups does he want to have at play at those key strategic moments?
Well, for Jay Vine, he's in pretty good form, so I don't think it really matters, but certainly does want the lightweight power-up on Box Hill. That'll be how he launches his attack, and hopefully can pick up an aero power-up for the finish. That's going to be vital on the line, but we did see recently on this course, Mark O'Brien use the draft power-up to get a good gap off the back of the rest of the group in a small 4-up finish. I see it playing out very similarly tonight, probably 5 or 6 riders.
Speaking of Mark O'Brien, let's take a look at some of the riders to watch. And Mark O'Brien on this course, he definitely is one of them, riding for the St Kilda Cycling Club.
Oh, he certainly is a big rider for tonight's stage. And look, he was fantastic in his victory earlier in the winter season in Australia. And riding for St Kilda Cycling Club, they've got some good points on the general classification. So if he can perform well tonight, that'll be great for them.
And Ollie Jones and Jay Vine, first and second from race number 1. We can't go past them. But what are your expectations on Gavin Dempster and Max Walker?
Well, Gavin Dempster and Dan Fleeman, both from Indoor Specialist, actually rode a really good race on Friday night. They were left behind and they were outside of the top 10, but they fought really hard and just finished a few seconds off the back of that group fighting for third. So I think they're good duo to watch tonight for Indoor Specialist. And Max Walker, well, for Trinity Road Racing, they really need someone to step up tonight.
Well, there's some of the names that we do expect to see at the front of the race. So let's get across to the race now as the men are tackling the triple loops. And they're already well and truly underway, Pat. And just looking at the vision, it tells the story of a race that is moving really, really quickly.
Well, we've also got some fresh legs in the race tonight, and Liam White being one of those, one of our locals in Victoria. So with Oliver's Real Foods brings in some fresh legs in, this is going to be interesting to see what they can do tonight as we're looking at Ollie Jones, who wears the leader's jersey in the MAAP Off the Map Tour.
And the Oliver's Real Food Racing team that you mentioned, they're always pretty easy to spot in the green colours. Ollie Jones, he's climbing, I thought was outstanding on Friday.
Well, and evident in our post-race interview was his face is very lean at the moment. He's dropped some weight, he has said, and that is so he can perform on these harder courses. He's so strong in the upper body. We always expect him to hold great form, but he just rides so phenomenally on the climbs in Zwift as well, and he's certainly got to be up there as one of the favourites for tonight.
And he's got his signature headband on with the towel draped around his neck. He's in race now, as you can see in the vision, wearing number 15 with the all-important big thumb. He's got the ride on. So anybody watching, pull out the phone, get on the Zwift Companion and make your vote count. Give a ride on. Ollie's won the race, plus he's got the ride on jersey. Does he have to win everything, Pat? Looks like he does.
Well, when you're at the front of the race and you're animating it, people at home, they're going to give you a ride on. And that's what it's there for, to encourage you. And you can do it with anyone on Zwift, someone you're riding with or potentially someone you're not riding with. Often just get on and see who's doing quite well on the companion app and then chuck them a ride on. And it's a great way to give them a bit of kudos, so to speak. So still really high pressure on here, Matt, and this is going to be really important to probably hurt some of those pure climbers before they get to Leith Hill, where they've got some big points on offer. But before that, they've got the points on offer at the Mall.
Let's take a look back at what has happened so far, and right out of the blocks in every single Zwift race, Pat, it is open up the throttle. You need to warm up with your heart rate on the start line around the 150 mark at least.
Oh, it's definitely one of those ones where I've always given friends of mine the advice to be powered up to sort of 300, 400 watts in the pen in that last 5 seconds before you take off in these races. Otherwise, you're going to be left behind. I see there Dave Williams. He's another fresh legs rider in tonight's race. Picking them up here, I think they must be far away.
Yeah, 1 kilometre away to the first of the sprints in the mall. So hence the speed is really up. They're charging underneath the kite. Williams is at the front, the rider that you just mentioned a moment ago. So the speed is really on. And Pat, if you're a rider who's not a particularly strong climber, this is your chance to contribute to the team and collect some points.
And that is exactly what Ollie Jones alluded to in his post-race interview on Friday night. Nick White in there as well. He's a fast finisher, Matt, so he's going to be interesting for the intermediate sprints. But Ollie Jones was suggesting they used up a rider early in the race knowing that he wasn't feeling so well, so he wasn't going to make it over the climbs. Good strategy as they get closer now, about 500 metres from that finish.
Onto the mall. We've seen the name of Vujilson Lionel from Belgium up towards the front. The power is up in the red numbers. There is a big move at the front, points to be collected. And this is a super strong sprint, but closing in quickly on Lionel Vujilson. This is going to be really tight. Almost going to have to get the photo out on this one, Pat, but clear legs coming forward to collect the points. And we'll tally those up in just a moment to give you confirmation. Dempster was certainly up there amongst it, but it was clear set of wheels at the front.
Looks like Brooke took that second in that first one, should I say. Young took it out, and it was Vujilson in third. David Williams with the fresh legs took fourth place. Then it was Brown behind him and Deleu from, I'm not sure where Deleu is riding this evening. Didn't pick him up in round one, but did see Ben Hill up there as well, Matt Keenan, and he has fresh legs as well, joining Cooper Sayers to back up Jay Vine tonight. And Jay really did allude to that on Friday night, that he just missed his teammates Ben Hill and Cooper Sayers, but to have them back's really going to cause some grief for the other riders. But still, no big points there for them tonight, the St Kilda Cycling Club, but it's Young that picks up the maximum 6 points.
And importantly for Canyon Esports, the leaders of the series, they get 10 more points. St Kilda, who were hoping to challenge, they're in third position. Bolt Racing, they collected 5 points. So second in terms of the amount of points collected at that intermediate sprint point. And as you alluded to, we saw Williams up there amongst it for that intermediate sprint.
Yeah, indoor specialists, they didn't pick up any points there, Matt, so that's going to hurt them a little bit on the general. They have got a lot better climbing capability in the team, though, so they should have a strong finish up Leith Hill, KOM, and then hopefully they can make it front group towards the end. As we see this replay, it was very close, and timing is the absolute number one priority, as we see across the line there, and it was Young taking that one out.
It was Young ahead of Brooke, and then the Belgian Vujilson in third position, followed by Williams. Was Brown in fifth place. Back at the front of the race, Williams is still showing himself up towards the front. Bolt race team, as we now get a chance to take a look through the various teams in this race, Pat.
Yes, and Bolt with Moxon there as well, and Davies. No Vigo Moore, but Matt Brooke there tonight as well. Also right up there in that sprint. So some strong finishing there. Canyon Esports, they've been out and out the favourites so far, with Vujilson and Jones really strong. But Alex West and Steve Young and James Phillips are three really strong riders too. So don't be surprised to see them at the pointy end of tonight's race.
Yeah, that is a strong team. The Evoc bike team, presented by Introd, that is a team that we didn't see a lot of on the first race on Friday. This is their opportunity to put matters to right.
Well, that's correct. And a good opportunity here, while it's flat, maybe to get a rider off the front. As we look at indoor specialists, one of the teams I'm really fond of, Gardner, Dempster, Talbot, Larson, and Fleeman. Fleeman and Dempster in particular really impressed me on Friday night. and would be a welcome sign to see them crack into that top 5 at the finish line. Oliver's Real Food Racing, we always talk about them, don't we?
Yeah, we do, for good reason, because they're normally in the thick of the action, particularly Liam White. And when we get in the garage with Liam and his brother Nick, we get to take a look at the Whippersnipper Power Up, which is always hanging above their heads.
Yeah, the Whippersnipper Power Up, one from the National Road Series virtual series. We talked about that quite a bit. Rowan King, they've got a strong lineup too, and they've been really quite in the early stage. But today, hopefully, we see them get to the front. Ethan Brownie and also Josh Tarling, one of the ones we really want to keep an eye on. They're fast and they're young. St Kilda Cycling
Welsh
Club.
connection. Yeah, St Kilda Cycling Club. We've already spoken about Mark O'Brien, Nick White as well, the brother of Liam White. David Williams, who's already featured in the first of the intermediate sprints. I think Mark O'Brien will attack on Leith Hill.
Oh, certainly. He's got to attack, and if not, he's just got to stay in the wheel of this man in the middle, Jay Vine, who welcomes on some fresh legs tonight from Ben Hill and Cooper Sayers. Cooper Sayers, fresh off a fantastic performance in the Virtual National Road Series early in the year. And Ben Hill, well, he hasn't had really the Zwift season he normally would. Maybe this is where he starts to find some really good legs again, just before we head back outdoors for some real-life National Road Series racing as well.
Team Draft is the next team to look for, and I just like the idea of sitting in the draft.
Well, I've got to say, George Mills-Keeling, he did a great performance on Friday night, Matt Keenan. One of the ones that sort of jumped out at us, he was aggressive out of that second group and a really strong finish. So keep an eye on him, and he's an interesting one to really keep an eye on, that's for sure.
Team Aussie Hump Day Ride is the next team to take a look at, and Ollie Stenning was a standout on Friday. He was in the thick of everything, and our South African friend Gary Muller is also in this team, and Graham Frisley.
Yes, and Daniel Seaweck, he's really been strong as well. He was top 10 in the Virtual National Road Series. So strong performers across the board there, and they'll really take some encouragement out of Ollie's ride on Friday night. Team Swedish Zwifters, Samuel Broland, Stefan Hopstadis and Christopher Safstom. They are three of the riders that join Johan Noren. So some internationals there as well to mix up the flavour. What can they do tonight? We'll find out.
Trinity Road Racing is the next team to take a look at. And I'm not sure, Pat, to be perfectly honest, what to expect from them tonight. Max Walker, we had a look at. Let's see if he can feature towards the front.
Yeah, he and Ben Healy would probably be the two that look like the strongest opportunities for their team tonight. But what a strong list of riders now that we've covered through all the teams. And a little bit of a late scratching for Kyle Ward, unfortunately, tonight, as we see Lionel Vujasan, third place in stage one, already being quite aggressive too this evening, right up the front, 260 watts. You know, that's pretty mild pace for him, 100 revs per minute. He's looking after his legs, but just 150 beats per minute. So he's not even really getting into it just yet.
They're getting to a really important part of the course, though, Pat. They've made the turn, they've gone through the tunnel, and they're heading towards the lower slopes of Leith Hill. And although the off-the-map tour, it features a lot of the less ridden routes on Zwift, everybody knows this climb.
Well, everyone knows it because it hurts, like most climbs do. And the most difficult thing about it is the combination. When you do the Leith and Box Hill combination, it really starts to burn. But the points are really crucial now. If Canyon's ZCC esports team continues to accumulate maximum points at these points opportunities, it's really going to make it difficult for anyone to make a move in the final two stages. So aggressive racing from Jay Vine, I expect. Aggressive racing from Mark O'Brien, we can also expect. But the important thing for them is to have a teammate in tow because Canyon ZCC, they'll definitely have duplicates in that front group.
Jay Vine is cruising. When we first went into the Vine show, he was sitting mid-pack. He has risen out of the saddle, accelerated ever so slightly, and churned his way up through the peloton to plonk himself right at the front in the business class seats. I think we will see an attack at some point from Jay Vine. How about Gavin Dempster?
Well, I've touched on it a few times already. Really impressed with Gavin and also Fleeman on Friday night. So I'm interested to watch them tonight. They've really grown on me from their performance. I thought it carried a lot of weight. They could have easily given up, Matt, but they knew that the points are so crucial. They sit second on the standings overall, does Indoor Specialist with 58 points. But after that first intermediate check, Sydney CC and St Kilda CC picked up some vital points that Indoor Specialists left behind.
I like that Gavin Dempster is doing his ride just in the doorway of the bathroom in case he goes just that little bit too hard.
Well, you only have a half a roll off the bike from the shower, I guess, and that's the great thing about
in the
Zwift.
fetal position.
As we see Ollie Jones now pushing a bit of pressure, but that's the great thing about Zwift and indoor racing is that, you unclip. There's no worrying about trying to get the key in the lock, Matt Keenan, which we all know is difficult after a long ride. It's just walk out the door, around the corner, into the shower, and start to breathe heavy after a tough ride. Graham Frisley is on the start list, and he has taken to the start tonight. It'd be great to see him factor late in this race, but it's going to be difficult times for him up the double climbs.
Well, it's crunch time now for Graham Frisley. He needs to hold on, and Frizzle looks like he's had a haircut.
Well, we nicknamed him Grizzly the Frizzly, but his dad tells me he is actually from Montana. He was born in Montana, and the Grizzlies are their mascot. So it's actually quite fun. Yeah, it is locked in at 100% now. So a lot of people don't know that about Graham, that he's born in America, so born in Montana and now in Australia, and one of our up-and-coming riders on the track, no doubt. But he made a name for himself in the virtual NRS series where he took a stage victory and was incredibly surprising on some of the tougher courses as well, Matt.
He's on the brink at the moment, though, Pat. His heart rate was up around the 190 mark. This is George Mills Keeling. He was very good on Friday in race number 1. He's drifting a little bit further back, perhaps, than what he would like, but the expression on his face is one of pure concentration.
Yeah, concentration and control, I say. He rode a really good race. He got stuck in third group at one point on Friday night, made it back to second group where they came together, about 6 riders. And then he was one of the strongest finishers, and I think he was in 4th place on the evening. But a great finish for him, and we'll look forward to him producing a good result again tonight. But there's so much more on offer too, and some fresh legs come in, Matt. It is difficult to back up so soon after a hard race.
And we're still seeing Brooke up towards the front, sprinted well, climbing well. Vujasan is also in the thick of the action, holding on at the front of the race. Is that Frisley dangling near the back, Pat? It's danger zone down there.
Well, it's a tough course for him tonight, and certainly with the likes of West and Vujasan right at the front, it's going to be a hot pace right from the base of the climb. And yes, he's sitting at the back, but he's a strong rider. He's done this kind of strategy before, and it's come to fruition for him. Joe Reese, he's pushing some hard power. Good body, a good power to weight though, so a strong performance there, and good to see a high cadence, Matt. Not so good to see a high heart rate though.
No, it is a high heart rate and a high cadence, but he's there and he's right near the front. That's even better. They've still got a fair way to go up this climb of Leith Hill. And once we get into those brick walls on either side, you know we're getting near that sprint for the all-important King of the Mountains points.
Well, it's an important position to be right at the front, because then you can follow those surges. In a lot of ways, that's much like in real life racing, that you need to be able to be close to those riders that are going to hit out so you can get in the draft position, but you want to have that featherweight, lightweight power up, and we'll definitely see a few of them popped at the points check.
What I've noticed, Pat, is there's quite a few of the jerseys in there of the Swedish Zwifters team. It's good to see the Swedes up towards the front of the race.
And look, we haven't seen them on Friday night, so it's going to be interesting to see what they can do on this course. And it's hard when you haven't seen them out, because particularly during this time, most of these riders have done a lot on Zwift, but if they haven't raced each other, it's difficult to measure up the form. As we see Ben Hill, he's obviously in some good legs as well, 450 watts. And as I said, he's usually a strong rider on Zwift. Hasn't really had the Zwifting season for winter in Australia that we normally would expect from him, but maybe tonight's his opportunity.
It was really interesting, that interview that we heard with Sarah Gigante, and she spoke about the parallel universe between Zwifting and individual time trialing, and you're just on the hammer the whole time. Well, Ben Hill is a guy that gets into the breakaway, rarely keeps any company because he likes to just separate himself from the peloton, the original cycling social distancer. So this is the perfect format for him.
Yeah, he's a social distancer, I can tell you that for sure, because I've raced with Ben Hill in real life racing, and he just is very, very antisocial.
This is Neil Ostenfeld. He's got the head bobble going, but he seems to be moving okay.
Well, often riders that move all over the bike, they're not affected by that on Zwift. So that's one thing that can really help them when they're coming onto Zwift, is that their power production's good and their watts per kilo isn't affected by wind or lack of form on the bike. And when I suggest form, I don't mean form physically, but form in the motion on the bike. And you can see he's getting all over it a little bit, but so he should be at 400 watts. His heart rate's in pretty good check there, though, Matt, at 175.
Yeah, he's got the old STI levers with the cable coming out the front as well. So the bike that
Definitely
he's using for the Zwifting, yeah, it's just the ergo bike, because all those sweat drops that go on it, they're not just sweat drops to go into the Zwift garage. They're real sweat drops that can damage your bike.
Yeah, you get a few rusty bolts. But yes, you don't often see the cables coming out with the adjusters at the top of the hoods. And we look at the race now. There's such a strong start here. Just 35 minutes of racing. And, well, there's been nearly 25 kilometres covered, which is a significant speed, particularly on a tough course.
It's huge. Jay Vine now at the front, pouring the pressure on. Walker, Fleeman, Jones, West, all the big pre-race favourites are emerging towards the front. Vujilson is also in the mix, and that comes as no surprise, Pat Shaw.
Well, and to have Alex West there as well shows that they've got 3 riders in the top 10 here, does the Canyon ZCC team. But this is where the climb really gets its toughest, and this is where we're going to see it start to break apart.
This is Christian Moxon, who is out of the saddle, desperately trying to hold on. He's seen the gaps open up ever slightly in front of him. This is one of the steeper parts of the climb, Pat, and they've been climbing for quite a while, and they are approaching the King of the Mountains points, and the pressure is on at the front, and it's been applied by Fleeman and Vine.
Well, Fleeman was impressive the other night, but Moxon really needs to hang in tight there for the Bolt race team. They really need a solid performance tonight, and he's doing a great job at the moment. But Fleeman was doing a bit of damage at the front, but now it's Vine that takes over the reins. Vujilson behind him, then it's Walker, and they are really pushing it hard at the front. Sam Lindsay up there, Alex West, Mark O'Brien, we expected to see him there, Ollie Jones, and Gary Dempster. He's really going strong as well.
And Ollie Stenning just holding on. The young Western Australian in 10th position on the road at the minute. Watts, 7 watts per kilo. There's a gap that's reading 1.5 seconds to the front to Fleeman, but he's still, importantly, Pat, in contact with the lead group. Alex West is up towards the front. It's the big pre-race favourites, as always, on such a tough course.
Oh, for sure. But I'm really surprised just how many are still here. This really shows we've got a great race on our hands tonight. And this is really promising signs for us all watching on from the sidelines as we see some power-ups being popped as well. Alex West, though, this is a really strong performance from him. But as I said, like to have 10 or 12 here in this front group, this is going to be exciting times as they go down the other side.
And a featherweight at the front. Is that Jay Vine who's using the featherweight? That's the last thing you want to see if you're dangling towards the back. We're on board now with Ollie Jones. He's got the ride on. He's got 800 watts. He's got the headband. He's got the towel around the neck. He's the series leader. Across the top, Vine with the points, followed by Ollie Jones. Little split
Vujsan
starting to appear. Vujsan it was, you're correct, Pat. Then Fleeman. This is starting to get interesting.
Wow, and what they've got to be a little bit careful here. We didn't see any sprint there from our man Mark O'Brien, who's been strong on this course before. So he saved some energy on that points position over the top of Leith Hill, knowing Box Hill's to come, and also then down to the finish, which Mark O'Brien does know well. And we see those results now. Vine, Jones, Vujsan, Fleeman, Sam Lindsay, Mark O'Brien. He didn't really push it there, Matt, but he picks up a crucial 1 point as well. And that's going to make a little bit of a difference to the general classification overall, because some of those riders have picked up some really, really important points, including indoor specialists. They really needed those points that Fleeman has produced for them.
What was really impressive then about Ollie Jones over the climb, sure, he went across the line in second position, but he was out of the saddle, charging at 800 watts, and then across the top he settles into 380, 400 watts as he just bridges the gap to Jay Vine, and he still holds that sort of tempo.
Certainly, and strong points there for St Kilda Cycling Club as well, with Sam Lindsay and Mark O'Brien both factoring there. But certainly Ollie Jones and Vujsan second and third. That's making it even more of a commanding lead for the Canyon ZCC esports team. And, well, the big thing for us, Matt, is we've got a nice solid group of 10 to 12 riders going through here. And it looks like a really strong presence here from Indoor Specialist in the orange with a bit of blue on it jersey, which are now rolling towards the front. Looks like it is Fleeman.
Yeah, getting themselves well organised at the front of the race. In terms of the team's points so far, Canyon Esports, they've further extended their advantage. They've collected 19. Sydney CC with 6. St Kilda with 6. Bolt Race Team with 5, followed by Indoor Specialists with 3. So the team that dominated race number 1 are dominating race number 2, but Pat, the big points are still to come. The chasing group with Ollie Stenning. Ollie Stenning has just missed the split. Geez, this kid's good, Pat.
Well, he's missed the split, but he seems to really enjoy riding a smooth race across the board. Jones, Dempster, they're at the front as well, and Stenning now looks like he's up there as well, Matt. So a strong group of 10 to 12 here, and I think Stenning can be a really good selection for tonight. He was strong on Friday night, remembering he has had that bad fall rather recently. He's only 4 weeks after an operation, so that's significant to say that he's come back pretty strong, because he was a strong performer in both the SRAM Send It Series and also the Virtual National Road Series just over 6 weeks ago.
Down to 12.5 kilometres remaining. The winner of race number 1, Ollie Jones, with the ride-on jersey, is in the front group. And this is an opportunity, Pat, for anybody to participate in the Off the Map Tour. And there are a couple of options. You can actually do the courses as a race and select A, B, C or D, or you can ride the courses in a Gran Fondo style format, which is what I chose to do yesterday.
Yeah, you said you really enjoyed it, and I'm sure many others do, remembering that you can also buy the Off the Map tour jersey at the end of the series in real life to take it outdoors. And I reckon that's a really cool little piece to this series, is that you can also take home a jersey and ride that outdoors in your bunchy on the weekend when we all get back outdoors again. Well, we're in the Vine Cave again. They just know how to do it so well, the Vines, and at just 110 beats per minute, I don't think Jay's really opened up the cylinders all that much just yet.
What are your expectations from Jay Vine come the climb to Box Hill?
Well, he certainly will be aggressive, and he's not one that waits for others to do the damage. So if the pressure's not on, he will enforce the pressure. Remembering, though, there's no points at the top of Box Hill, but it certainly is a great launch pad for the finish. My only concern is that maybe Jay drags away Jones and also one of West, or also Vujsan, and really that's just stacks the house against him. So he's going to need some others there, and I think Mark O'Brien can do much similar to what he did in the virtual NRS series, Matt Keenan. Oh, actually, it was the Transcendent series, and that is be advantageous of the situation. Be one out, sends the attack. They all look at each other and don't know what to do. Gavin Dempster from Indoor Specialist. They've got some numbers there, Matt.
Yeah, they're riding really well up towards the front of the race. It is a fairly select group at the head of affairs. Dempster is up towards the front of the race. He's been riding pretty smartly, Pat. We haven't seen him right at the front, but nor have we seen him distanced. And those orangey colours of the Indoor Specialist team, there's plenty of them in the lead group. In fact, there's 4 of them from that team in this lead group. So with the points being accumulated across all the riders on the team, this is a chance for them to make a really big move in the general classification. They're currently in second position. They're currently in second position in the overall standings. So this is a big day for the Indoor Specialists.
Yes, and it was one that I really looked at them to perform tonight, but certainly 4 in this group is a sensational effort. They've got Matthew Gardner there, Gavin Dempster, who we've featured from the indoor camera as well. He's there as well. Ryan Larson in there, and Dan Fleeman, top 10 finisher on Friday night. So 4 riders out of about 12 in this group suggests they're in a really good position to take multiple places in that top 10, and that will really help them catch up some of that difference in points on the leaderboard with Canyon ZCC esports team.
We've been waiting for it, and here it is. It's the first move from Mark O'Brien, and it's before he's even hit the climb of Box Hill.
Well, this is what I was suggesting. He can also just take advantage of not having any points on the leaderboard, not really known by a lot of the riders, particularly the international riders in this field tonight, but he has form on this course, and he can climb.
He's opening up a little bit of an advantage. It's a few seconds up his sleeve. He still seems to be pretty composed based on those numbers. He's riding at close to 400 watts, up towards the almost 6 watts per kilo mark for Mark O'Brien, 5.5 watts per kilo. His heart rate is still just around the 155 range. He's got room still to go.
Well, he's got room still to go, and he's got Sam Lindsay back in the pack, just in that group of 11 riders behind him, and he'll be taking it quite easy in the wheels, just waiting for the next opportunity. Both of them picked up points on that crucial Leith Hill KOM for the intermediate points, but can Mark O'Brien go all the way to the line? Just under 10Ks to go, Matt.
Yeah, he's advantaged now. It's just a little bit over 5 seconds on the chasers. It's not a super big group that is behind him, but they do have the numerical advantage on the slight descents and the flatter sections. Mark O'Brien, he desperately wants the climb. He loves the climb.
Oh, certainly, and any form of a gap will cause aggression from behind. And it's going to be interesting to see who does want this gap to come down the most. Do Canyon ZCC, do they back themselves in and know that they've got the strength in West, Jones and Vujistan? Or are they a little bit concerned that they're helping Indoor Specialists close that gap to them on the general classification, where they are outnumbered by 1 rider in this group of 11?
Well, still Mark O'Brien, who's not worried about anything that's happening behind because he can't control it. The old cliche, he's controlling the controllables. He is now moving out to a 12-second advantage, but you can see the red. Jay Vine is opening up the throttle. He's on the charge, trying to go across to Mark O'Brien. He likes the look of it, Pat. That could be the good launching pad for Jay Vine to get away from Ollie Jones.
Yeah, and let's see who he separates away from the pack. I don't think Mark O'Brien will be too worried. He knows he can hold the likes of Vine and also Fleeman on this climb. But it's Indoor Specialist now coming past, and it looks like it is. It's Fleeman that's coming past Jay Vine. So there's a few more interested as well. Jay Vine just backs it off a little bit. 383 watts. Oh, up to 450 there. And now a feather weight being popped there. So that's by Ollie Jones, is it? Yes, it does look like it's Ollie Jones. He's in that beautiful blue MAAP jersey for the leader of the Off the MAAP Tour. And this is a great effort by Ollie Jones. We've spoken about just how well he is climbing at the moment. And he certainly has been looking forward to this series. And he's putting a massive presence as he draws O'Brien back into the pack.
No longer draws him back in. He has drawn him back in. It's past tense now because Mark O'Brien has been caught. That move collectively by the first and second from Friday, Jones and Vine have done the damage. Now Mark O'Brien's challenge as they hit the bottom of the climb at Box Hill is to breathe deep and hold on.
Well, the pressure on this climb, 7.2 kilometres to go. And wow, they've covered 34 kilometres in just under 49 minutes. That's a crazy pace, particularly on this tough course.
Insane.
Remembering we're doing around about, well, close to 550 metres of elevation gain in this course tonight as well, which is a significant ride anytime you cover over 500 metres in under an hour. And most of the climbing has already taken place. They're on this final climb, then they get the descent, go back down into the station, and then onto the finish.
So the select group onto the final significant climb. Jaron Walker has been shown himself to be strong. Mark O'Brien has stayed up towards the front. Ollie Jones in the blue jersey wearing number 11, the winner of the opening race. His team, the Canyon team, the Canyon Esports Racing team, they've got plenty of riders still in this group, and they wear the off-the-map jersey as the leaders of the series.
Oh, and it looks great too, and he's got the thumbs up as well because of the kudos coming through from the ride-ons. And if you want to jump on the Zwift Companion app, give some of these riders a ride-on, particularly Mark O'Brien, who was really, really aggressive at the base of the climb, and he's really set this up for a tough finish. But it doesn't look like too many are dropping off, Matt. It's a strong, strong group of riders that we've got here.
No, it's not a super steep climb, so to drop any of these riders, you need to be exceptionally strong. Ollie Jones still setting the tempo. Jaron Walker just behind him. Vujilsun, the teammate of Jones, is there. They've got good numbers once again out in front, the Canyon Racing team.
Well, and so do, as we look at Vujilsun now, and he is looking like he's digging pretty deep though, and he's pushing as hard as he can. He's got Jones who sits at the front. It's going to be interesting to see if we get over the top with this same group, Matt. Some great attacks and counter-attacks will probably appetise us before the sprint finish.
The hair flowing in the breeze of the fan for Lionel Vujilsun. Third and race number 1, applying the pressure on race number 2. He and his teammate Ollie Jones were delighted with the outcome on Friday, and you had the opportunity to talk to them, Pat. And we heard also from Jay Vine, he said, I just didn't have that extra 100 watts in the sprint finish that Ollie Jones has got.
Yeah, he thought he timed it right, but Ollie Jones got the better of him. And funnily enough, Ollie was a little bit concerned that if he didn't get the job done, Vujilsun would have got the job done. So he knew that there was a lot of pressure on him to try and get the victory, and he did so. Can he go back-to-back tonight? And maybe you can suggest your favourites for the win out of this group on the Facebook comments.
Join us on Facebook, on the Zwift Live Facebook page. I'm going to be as conservative as possible, but I'm going to go with my heart and my head. Ollie Jones.
Yes, he's a strong performer throughout. But I'm going to go a little bit different tonight. I think maybe Dempster from Indoor Specialist. I really think they've got the numbers there. Maybe they can send someone away late, and Indoor Specialist can come out on top tonight and upset the apple cart of the Canyon ZCC esports team, who has had it all their own way so far.
I say Ollie Jones with my head because his finishing speed is so quick, and I say with my heart because I've really enjoyed watching him race this season in this format and a variety of series that he's been involved in. He throws everything at it. He leaves nothing on the table, Pat.
He certainly is there to entertain, and he rides absolutely to his fullest, but he's a very strong rider on this format. Now they get to this little rise here before coming back down, and well, just 5 kilometres to go, Matt. Now the nerves start to stick in. All the orange numbers pop because this is a strong, steep little rise, particularly after coming over the top of the climb. Then they start the descent and start thinking about their tactics down to the finish line.
It's nasty, that little bit. So if you do participate in the mass participation off the map tour, whether it's one of the races or the Grand Fondo style event, be careful when you get over the top of Box Hill. It dips ever so slightly, and then that extra bit of kick up at the end, Pat, that can cause some splits.
Oh, it can cause some splits indeed. And look, I know we keep talking about it, but it's the form guide on this course. Mark O'Brien, he was actually dropped up the escalator, if you remember Matt Keenan. He threw an attack through the tunnel. He got dropped up the escalator. The other 4 riders in the front group, they forgot all about him. They thought, he's done with. Well, he came over the top real strong with a surge of pace, got that small gap, but he was able to maintain a really good watts per kilo average in the last 30 seconds. And even with an aero power up, they're unable to collect him on the line. So let's see what he produces tonight, or can someone do the a la O'Brien and take the victory themselves?
Well, I'm not expecting Mark O'Brien to save it for a sprint finish. It's just not his forte, not at all.
I think you're probably right. You know, Mark O'Brien's not really going to back himself in against the likes of Ollie Jones and Vujasan and Vine. But certainly I think there'll be a couple of other riders here with the same thing in mind. So we're up for a really aggressive last 3.5 kilometres.
Yeah, heading down to the last 3Ks, and you can see those orange colours, indoor specialists, they're really well represented in this front group. They have 3 riders in a small front group, Patshaw. That is impressive. Fleeman is there, Dempster is there, so too is Larson.
And Larson can be fast. He can go fast on the line. So it's just going to be interesting to see how they play out the tactics. Are they talking on Discord together and suggesting maybe we do a team lead out, try and get 2 in the top 5? Or do we go for the risky move and attack, potentially get wound in, we don't get anything, but if we don't, we get the maximum points? And really, if they're going to challenge in the series overall, I really think that the maximum points is a requirement tonight for indoor specialists.
Fleeman up towards the front. So too is Walker, getting towards the escalator, fighting for position. Being near the front at the base of the escalator is important, Pat. And a little punch, a little bit of an opening of the throttle can make all the difference just at the base of that climb.
Oh, certainly. And look, your race can be done here too, because if you're on the limit and up the escalator, it is one of the toughest climbs on Zwift. In fact, I know it's short, but it can really snap the legs. Mark O'Brien, he's pushing the surge of pace again. Vujasan follows. Walker right there. Fleeman behind him. And then Ollie Jones, Jay Vine and West right there just behind patrolling. They start that ascent now, and it's Walker now that takes over. Vujasan, he wants a piece of it as well. And O'Brien right there in the mix.
Oh, there's no breakaway on the climb. There's a little bit of a gap opening up towards the back, but they all appear to have survived up that climb. 1,500 metres remaining.
And it's Fleeman that takes it to the front. It's then Lindsay, who's been really good. He's there with Mark O'Brien, both for the St Kilda Cycling Club team. Jones, as we expect. Vujasan there. West, the 3 Canyon ZZC. They're right on each other's wheel. Larson in the mix. And who else can get the job done? Maybe Dempster. I did pick him. Hopefully he can pull it off.
Let's see as they come down to 1 kilometre to go. Mark O'Brien, he's got himself at the head of the race. Walker is there with him as well. Jones is just waiting patiently, but now he starts to appear.
Well, O'Brien needs to go. He needs to push the pressure, and hopefully Lindsay can get the job done, because an attack in this final kilometre is going to be hard to take it to the line. Vujasan right up the front. Vine, we almost forget about him because we're talking about Canyon CCC, but Jay Vine, he's more than possible to take out this win.
And who's got what power up their sleeve to be able to deploy? We can see one power up being used within the group, and it's O'Brien who has pulled the parachute on the power up, and he's off and racing. Vujasan is chasing. 600 metres remaining, Pat.
And this has really put the pressure on the rest of the group, Matt, and this can force the hand of Vujasan. Maybe he's gone a bit early. Indoor Specialist in a really good position with Dempster right there, Fleeman, and also Larson all in the top 7 now. And it's Ollie Jones that's hit out long.
Well, Jones has waited patiently with his power up. He now puts it to good use. He's got his nose in front. It's his teammate Vujasan who is chasing Jones. Vujasan, it's a photo. I think it's Jones, only just with Vine in third.
Oh, I don't know. That was a very close finish, and didn't they get it right? I actually thought Vujasan went a bit early, and Jones hit out as well. But they both had those aero power-ups. They held them until late, and it looks like it's going to get the job done for them. Jones has been hit by Vujasan. Yeah, he was coming
right on
quick.
the lines. So timing is everything. It was Vujasan ahead of his teammate Jones, then Vine, followed by Walker, Larson, Fleeman, then Dempster, West. Lindsay was in 9th, and not surprisingly, when it came down to a bunch sprint finish, Mark O'Brien rounds out the top 10, Pat.
Yeah, making sure everyone got home safely there, and good on him for. So, John, it looked really good. Larson, Fleeman, Dempster there for Indoor Specialists, but 5th, 6th, 7th, they won't be happy with that. Vujasan and Jones, they pull off the big 1-2 after their 1-3 on Friday. Jay Vine, well, he continues to be in the top 3, but he's playing second fiddle at the moment. Unfortunately, tonight we didn't see a lot of Cooper Sayers. I don't know if he was even on the start line in the end. He could have played a big role in tonight's race. Sam Lindsay, good effort for him there with Mark O'Brien, 2 in the top 10 for St Kilda Cycling Club, and also Walker. What a great ride it was for him this evening.
Here's a look at the replay, Pat, with the move by Jones over the top of O'Brien, who tried to go early and catch them by surprise by using his power up when he did. I thought that was the only tactic he could employ. And then you see Vujasan right on the line, just managing to get there.
Yes, well, Vujasan had the aero boost power up, but he also was in the draft. He had the ×2 effect, Matt Keenan, and I think that's probably pretty fair. Jones got the win last time out, and this time it's Vujasan. So we're going to see his scary bunny face again in the post-race interviews, and I look forward to it. They were great to chat to on Friday night. It's going to be the same faces again. It's just in a different order.
Yeah, I like the idea of it. So for the Canyon team, the Canyon esports team, they started as the series leader. They picked up lots of points at the intermediate sprints and the King of the Mountain on Leith Hill. So they will have extended their advantage, but don't discount the prospects long-term of Indoor Specialists. They had 3 riders in the top 10, Pat. They're still in the hunt with 2 races still to come.
The wild card in it for Canyon ZCC was Alex West, coming in 8th position, should I say. So he really evens it out, but that 49 points for 1st and 2nd makes a staggering difference. So that's going to be huge for them.
Yeah, that was an absolutely massive performance by them. It was interesting to see that within that race, it didn't quite break up as much as I anticipated on Leith Hill, which is not that it wasn't aggressive. It shows the depth of the peloton. There are a lot of strong riders in this race.
Oh, certainly. And look, I was as surprised as you, Matt, because I expected 5 or 6 to come to the line. So 10 riders to come to the line was really impressive, and it shows you the depth, as you said. But the weight of the best performers still lie in 2 or 3 teams. And Indoor Specialists really look like they're the main competitors against Canyon ZCC. So we look forward to seeing what they can bring on the next stage.
So, Pat, tonight we had 2 great races. In the women's race, Jackie Godby, she demonstrated her strength by winning solo. And then in the men's race with Lionel Vujasan getting the better of his teammate, Ollie Jones, we got to see a bunch sprint finish. We've been treated to some great racing.
Yeah, certainly, and looked like a really tough one in the women's race. I really enjoyed watching it from the sidelines. And, well, the men's race, it was great to see other riders step up. It was such a commanding race by both Ollie Jones and Jay Vine on Friday night, so sensational to see some others really getting in the mix.
Importantly, everybody can get involved in the Off the Map tour. I've done one stage. I've got 3 more stages to go. The first one that I just did the mass participation ride. At some stage, Pat, I'm going to put it on the line and I'll enter one of the races. But
And tell us about
I'll tell you about it if I get a good result. Participate in those events. You get the great MAAP in-game kit. And if you do all 4, you get a chance to buy one of the jerseys to go and take out into the real world as well. Next week, Pat, well, actually, later on this week, on Thursday, we're back racing. The men are on the Rising Empire, which is the course that the women use tonight. And for the women, they're across to the Magnificent 8. So I look forward to seeing you back here on Thursday for race number 3.
It can only get better. Three up, and then we got the last stage as well. So 2 more to go. We're halfway. The form is good. Let's see if Indoor Specialists can turn the table on Canyon ZCC on Thursday night.
Thanks for joining us for race number 2, the Off the Map tour. Race number 3 is on Thursday. Hopefully I'll see you out on course doing one of the events. Until then, ride on.